Hi everyone, it's a new week in the barn on the boat build, and this Friday it's midsummer. And this is a big festivity in Sweden, and we're gonna have a little party here with our friends. It has become a tradition, and it's the third time now that we do it. And midsummer means that summer is here. It's maybe not so warm today, but we're actually planning to go sailing soon. We got to borrow a boat from a friend, so we're really excited for that. And in order for us to be able to leave the farm and the boat build, we need to, prepare everything, gather up material so we can release videos while we're away. That's what we hope, at least. So this week we wanted to make a quicker video, and as you know, every now and then we make a little Q&A episode. We always get a lot of questions, and we have new viewers that come in and watch the videos, and maybe they are not fully aware of our history, why we started this, what we did before, and also to talk a little bit about the future of the build and our future plans. So that's what we're going to do today.
Let's start off with the question that we've been getting a lot lately, now that we're into the reinforcement for the rigging with those bulkheads and all of that. And that's why are we not going with carbon fiber chain plates on the boat? And there's different reasons for that, but I think the main reason for us is that our chain plates sits in a pretty exposed position on the boat, far out on the hull sides or just inside. The likelihood of getting hit on the side here during the next 20 years by a dragging boat or a dock piling or something else is actually quite high, and I'm speaking from my own experience here. And one thing with carbon is that it really doesn't like blunt force. And even if you get hit and you look at that chain plate and it looks okay, there is no chance to really know that it's okay. Because that's the thing with carbon. It can look okay, it could be damaged on the inside in the fibers, and carbon has no give. There is no stretching. So once it breaks catastrophically. And that's really important for us to be able to see after an accident like that, okay, can we still trust this chain plate? And that's not possible with carbon. Because the thing with metal is that it can take blunt force a lot better than carbon, and it can be bent but still be okay. And you can see if there's a problem with it. And also, it's a lot easier to replace if there's a problem with it. Because a carbon chain plate needs to be tabbed into the hull over a larger surface area. And that's a lot harder to fix if it's damaged than to replace a bolted metal chain plate with just nuts and bolts, really. And don't get me wrong here, I understand the benefits of having a carbon chain plate as well. No leaks, it's really strong in tension. But for us, those other things is much, much higher up on the list. And the problem with leaks, you can fix that. It's not a big problem. And also crevice corrosion, pitting, that's really not a big problem with the type of chain plates that we're going to have. Often where there's problem with crevice corrosion on chain plates is where they go through the deck and you have maybe still water in an oxygen-starved environment and you get crevice corrosion because you can't really check the chain plate. But we won't have a design like that on our chain plates. And also we're thinking that we're going to do the chain plates from duplex steel, which has a higher resistance to pitting and crevice corrosion. And actual sealing of the chain plates, of course, after 10-15 years, there could be a leak, but then it's quite easily to just rebed them the way we are going to place our chain plates. So it's still higher up on the list to be able to check if there's a problem with the chain plate. I don't want to sail around after getting hit on the side of the boat and just having that feeling in the back of my mind, is that carbon chain plate still okay? Or will it just explode on us suddenly when we're offshore? And of course, other people will make different priorities on this, and I can understand that. Carbon fiber chain plates can be a good thing. But for us, those other things are really much higher up on the list. And we really want to be able to fix this boat wherever we are in the world ourselves. And that's why we go with metal chain plates. I hope that made some sense. Yeah, this next question is probably from someone that are thinking of maybe building their own boat. What's the one thing about building your own boat that people don't realize until they try it for themselves? Yeah, that's a good question, and maybe we can give an answer on it now, being 2.5 years into the build. And I think it needs to be the amount of work involved. I had a pretty good understanding of the amount of hours involved in building a big boat like this. But once you start off and you start to build, it's just crazy how much work it is to build a big boat like this. You really get an understanding of why boats are expensive to buy, because there's so many man hours involved and so many different things that you need to think about. It's not only building the boat, you need to think about every step in the build, because everything is so important on a boat. It's so different from building like a house or something, because this combines so many different things. It needs to be strong but still light. It needs to be able to sail, but still you need to be able to live in the boat, and it's so vastly different from building like a house. And everything needs to be built from scratch. There's no going to the hardware store, just picking up a sheet of whatever and just put it on the wall. And I can easily say that this will be the hardest project and work that I will ever make in my whole life, I would guess. Putting in the amount of hours with really back-breaking work sometimes. And I've been working a lot of hard jobs in the past, but this is something totally different, because it's, it needs to be right. It costs a lot of money, so you can't just give up. You just need to do it correctly. And everything is so big. I mean, the hull here is 100 square meters. So every time you're going to sand the hull, it's 100 square meters that you need to sand. And I have lost count on how many times we have sanded this hull now. And not to talk about the longboarding of the hull. It's just crazy amount of hours of really tough work that you need to put in to build a boat like this. Like I said, I thought I had a pretty good understanding before we started out. But it was a lot more than that. But I'm no stranger for hard work, so it's no problem for me. But I think that's one thing that if you plan to build your own boat, you should really think that through if you're up for the task of putting in that amount of hours into building a boat. And especially if you plan to do this on your free spare time during weekends and evenings, if you have a normal job on the side, I would say it will be borderline crazy starting a project like this if you are dependent on a full-time job as well. At least if you plan to build it on 1 or 2 persons, because then you won't have a life really for maybe 10, 15 years with no free time, no vacation, no weekends, no evenings. All the time will be spent building that boat for 10 to 15 years. And sure, if you're up for that, go for it. But you should think it through before you start, because it's expensive, and this stuff is not worth anything until it's finished. If we were to sell this boat now, we will get nothing for it. We won't get back the cost of the material that we have put in. And that's not accounting for all the man hours that we have already spent on this.
We recently built the foredeck, so from the bow back to where the coaming starts, we now have a completely sealed boat. And we've got some questions about why we decided to do the deck now. Like, won't it be difficult when you're going to bring stuff into the boat, and it's going to be so dark when you're in there working? And we have two reasons for why we wanted to have the deck in place now. The first reason is that it will be easier to heat up the area inside of the boat this coming winter. You know that we struggle a lot staying warm inside the barn. The barn has no insulation at all. We just have some windproof on one side, and then we have the sheet metal on the other side. But there are a lot of gaps, so the wind comes in and it's really cold. So with the deck in place, we have almost half of the boat enclosed, which will make it so much easier to heat it. And that will give us a so much nicer working environment inside the boat. And the other reason to why we wanted to build the deck now is that we want to avoid some of the mess that will come when we're going to do the inside tabbing. Because the whole deck, where it comes down, will be tabbed together with the hull sides on the inside. And doing this now without any of the interior furnitures in place will just make it so much easier. And with that said, of course, if we would leave the deck off, that would have some advantages as well. As I said, of course, bringing stuff in, but I think we will manage anyway.
Yeah, and then we have a couple of questions that are a bit tied to each other, I would say. And I can start out with this one. How do you keep the motivation up over such a big and multiple year project? Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, I also struggle a lot some days. I mean, on a big project like this, not all days are going to be fun. It's not, sometimes you really struggle going out here because it is a lot of work. And some days it's really hard work as well. So for me, at least, it's important to really try to see the end goal every day. Think about why are we doing this, but at the same time, not focus on all the work that needs to be done before you get there. So you need to really break it down in smaller steps, a bit like, sailing around the world. You don't sail around the world in one go often. You take it step by step, and then finally you have sailed around the world. Yeah, and this is a bit similar. You need to celebrate every step of the way that you finalize and finish. But still keep an eye on the end goal and always think about why you started out doing this. Yeah, and maybe this ties a bit into another question here, and that's, why don't you just buy the boat you want instead of spending years of sweat and work building it yourselves? This is personal. I mean, depends on who you are. But for me, it's not, the end goal is not just that we want a new boat. It's also the whole process of building our boats that we have designed together with Ulf, our naval architect, but it's our layout of the interior. It's like our ideas that has gone into this project, and we have built it with our own hands. That's also a part of the goal. So it's not only that we want a new boat, it's like we want to build it and we want to be part of the whole process of this whole creation of what's going to be our future home and boat. Of course, that involves a lot of hard work and days of doubt when you're really struggling to find motivation. But in the end, when the boat is finished, the rewards will be so much higher than to just go buy a boat. This is something different, at least for me. And some things in life, it's not about that it should be easy, the easy way. This is a challenge, And a challenge involves struggle and hard parts of the project. Otherwise, it's not a challenge. So at least for me, not everything in life should be easy, because you need a challenge every now and then in life. And that's the way I've been living my life. I just need to have different challenges and goals to feel the best. And also when you reach the end of that, I can really, I just love that feeling. And that's just who I am. I'm not saying that everybody should build their own boats, because it's a big project and it's definitely not for everyone. And this is also something that I've been dreaming about for my whole adult life, really, building my own boat. And now we had the chance to do that. And if I wouldn't have taken that chance, I think I would have regretted that later on. I know a comment we got a while back that somebody said that this must be the hardest sail of your life. Sometimes you get that feeling when you're far out at sea in really bad weather and you're thinking, what are you doing there? And this can at times be the same. You think about, what have we done? Will we pull through? And of course, that can be stressful. But I think we managed quite well so far.
I think it's so beautiful out here now, watching the fields. And today when it's windy, the wind really creates like ocean-shaped movements on the fields. I think it's so beautiful. And in August, it's 3 years since we moved in to Sunhill Farm. And the whole process of buying the farm was quite really fast. I mean, we came home to Sweden, and a month later we had bought the farm. And then we had already looked at several different places. And the reason to why we decided to buy this particular farm was really the size of the barn. It was big enough to build round 3. And of course, some other things also played in, like we really liked the location, how the setting around, and it was not too far away from like a kindergarten and to bigger grocery shops. And we just said, like, as long as the main house is livable, it's okay for us. We can fix the rest with time. And during these years, we've done quite a lot of things on the farm, and we've really come to love this place. We really like it here, and we don't miss the big city at all, like Malmö, where we used to live before when we lived in Sweden, and that's the city where I grew up. It's the 3rd biggest city in Sweden, but with all the years of sailing and spending so much time in remote places, in nature, far from big cities and places, we've really come to love peaceful places, quiet places, and being close to nature. And of course, our dream is to live right by the ocean, to see the ocean from our house, and to open the windows and doors and hear the waves. That is still our dream, and we really hope we can make that a reality some time in our lives. And people always ask us, but what are you going to do with the farm when you go sailing? Are you going to sell it? And some people write in the comments, but you do so many things on the farm. Are you really going to be able to go sailing? Or do you like it so much here on land? And we will definitely go sailing, but we really hope we can keep the farm. That is our plan. So either if we are able to rent out the farm, the house, to have someone live here and to take care of the garden, that is one option. But with that option, it makes it a bit difficult for us to have a place to come home to when we go home visiting. It was so nice to have a base here, and it would be nice to whenever we're in Sweden, we can just come home here and have this as our base. Another idea that we have is to make the little house, to convert a part of that into a small guest apartment, and maybe we can rent out that place. And they have access to the garden and of course the barn and stable, but the main house will be kept empty. But we'll see if we can do that, because it will take a lot of time and or money to do that, even if it just becomes a small guest apartment. Yeah, and this farm needed quite some love when we moved in. The garden has been quite neglected for the past 10 years. And we really wanted to put effort and time and love into the farm, and to make a nice garden and to make the house nicer so it can last for another 150 more years. And I think since starting our life here on land and on the farm, a little bit of my passion has become the garden and the projects in the garden. So Johan, he has the main brain activity here, and I help him and assist him with everything. And then I like to do things outside, of course with his help. So yeah, we don't see ourselves leaving the farm anytime soon.
So it's Midsummer's Eve today, so it's time to start prepping the midsummer pole. Going to wrap this with flowers and leaves and have it in front of the house. And in a few hours we have some friends coming over, and it looks like we're lucky with the weather, so I'm really looking forward to just relax, having some time off and just having a good time. The video this week was a bit different, but we hope that some of you got answers to your questions. Next week we'll be back with a more normal video, and this is it for this week. So thanks a lot for watching, and we hope to see you back here next Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.